his wife Shannon. And Bill Jerald is an extraordinary artist who came back from the brink of death with a new talent that never existed before. That's why we did the little new talent thing. He will share a story about his journey, present some of his angel woodwork, which he has in that bag, and that has been at the Vatican. With Joel Osteen?
Joel has some.
Joel has some? And the Vatican has some. Yes! Okay. And he was featured in the Ventura County News and more. And he actually has a lot of his angel work at the Angel Store in Ventura. And I was just dropping off an angel picture, and Bill and Shannon just happened to be there. And it was amazing. So it just, that was divine grace that we met. And there are no coincidences. You know what? Everybody who is a medium, everybody who has your talent, they always say that there is never a coincidence. Like, if you came here today, there is no coincidence. It's like you were supposed to. So that's really it. Or we were supposed to meet that day. And how weird, because you guys were just getting ready to leave, I think, that day. I know. And I walked in like, oh, perfect timing. And you know what's interesting, you know, and I just give gratitude, and I just want to share this today because I know that divine grace was surrounding me. I always bless my car before I drive, and I always say I'm invisible to police. But anyway, but besides that, today I'm driving up, and no kidding, and the freeway was kind of quiet today. I don't know, it's just kind of a quiet day. But I'm driving up, and I see a car go whoom, across the freeway in front of me. I'm going, what? And I realized their tire blew out, and they're right in front of me. I'm not kidding, maybe 15 feet. That's how close it was. And they careened across, and then only one car hit them. And I don't even know if a car hit them. I think what happened, they hit the center divider. Thank goodness for those center dividers. Yes. And they're like, what? And they drove, and people just stopped. And they drove back across to get over on the side. And I really think that when that tire blew, by the grace of God, they would have had, you know, what, 8 people hitting, but it happened to happen on a Sunday morning when it was quiet, and you could literally see the car going, shoo. And then I'm like, what are they doing? And then I realized when I saw the rubber from the tire. Wow. And then all I did, people were stopping, and they were getting out of their cars, and they were putting on to go and assist them because they all saw it happen in front of them. So all I'm going to tell you is that, and I have goosebumps right now, is that we are blessed, and we are always blessed. So if that would have been a minute sooner, I may have hit them. But, you know, it was just grace that they had that, and nobody hit them, and it was beautiful. So I just wanted to share that, because I was just, wow. Anyway, yeah. So it says, and so we're going to be inspired by the miracles that Bill has experienced, which is way more than getting a blowout on the freeway. And Roxy put in a quote, and this is from the Angel of Nature, and Sunflower it's called. And it's an angel made out of wood, and you'll see a few of the pieces in a minute. And she says, I am here to remind you to take time to appreciate the natural wonders that surround you each day, be it the sweet sound of a songbird, the elegant wings of a butterfly, the striking colors of the dragonfly, the tenderness of a ladybug, or the pleasant scent of a beautiful flower. Each is a gift for you to enjoy. Awesome. So you brought your little ones too, yes?
We do.
Oh, great. So you may be able to acquire one today, later. But anyway, they'll share their stories. So with that, I'm going to welcome up Bill and Shannon. And I'm going to bring this up. So, whoops. And so look at, Siri's talking to me. Okay.
Was Siri talking?
Siri's was talking to you. Okay, there we go. It's hot, it's on. All right, you want to hold that, Shannon? So thank you guys for being here, and let's welcome these two. Yes. Oh. Okay. All right, so we're going to pass around one of his, you can hang this anywhere, really. You know, it's beautiful.
People use them for meditation and prayer.
I know. So we're going to pass this around the room while he's talking, okay? okay? And that's one of the small pieces that he made, but wait till you see the bigger ones.
All right.
Good morning, thank you for having us.
Good morning.
You know, people say there's no miracles anymore. You know, I was talking to someone not too long ago, and they were saying that, you know, you read the Bible and they put people in furnaces and they come out unscathed. You know, where are those miracles? Just miracles don't happen anymore. So I'm here to tell you today that they happen every day. I think that we become desensitized over time to believe that miracles don't happen. In 2005, I had a chest cold, and my wife's like, you know, you sound terrible, you should go see the doctor. I'm like, NyQuil, you know, like every other guy here, I'm not going to the doctor. And finally a lung collapsed. I went to the hospital. And they told Shannon, don't worry, it's just a lung, it happens all the time. We're gonna inflate his lung, keep him overnight, make sure he's okay, and send him home in the morning. And within hours, the other lung collapsed. I got double pneumonia, sepsis of the blood, and something called ARDS, where the fluid from the pneumonia in your lungs actually congeals into a gel. And it's a death sentence, period. Like, there is no way back from that. So, I was in a coma for about 3.5 weeks. And they called my wife in to the hospital, and all the doctor team, because they have a whole team of doctors, a whole team of nurses. And they called her in and said, listen, you need to make arrangements because your husband's dead. We're stopping his treatment. He'll never get better. His lungs will never function on their own. They are completely solid. When we remove the tube, he's gone within minutes. And I'll let you tell him what.
Hi, I'm Shannon. Bear with me. I'm not very good with public speaking.
Tell your story.
I'll tell you a little bit from the beginning. When he got to the hospital, I was ushered into his room in the emergency room. And I looked at the monitor and I saw that his oxygen level was at an 85. And having a mother that was ill the majority of my life, I knew that that wasn't good. And they just said it was just a really bad case of pneumonia, they would take care of him. So that evening I came back and they had him up in ICU. And I remember he was kind of dazed and out of it and very uncomfortable. And I kept telling him, you know, it's going to be okay, and he was really grumpy, and I figured it was from all the shots and just having tubes in your nose and everything, and I remember sitting there looking over at him, and he starts to laugh, and he seemed like he was talking to someone, and he was looking at the ceiling where the curtain rod is for the closing, and I called his name, he didn't respond, and I shook him, and he got, so what? I'm all, who were you talking to? And he goes, nobody. I'm like, okay, and so for the next couple of days, it increasingly got worse, and I remember my last words to him were, I have to go, I'm tired, I have to get sleep, it's gonna be okay, I love you, and he goes, yeah, I'm a mess. And I'm like, I know. And then I come back, and the nurses are like, okay, we need to talk to you, we need to tell you what happened. It's the next following day, and I'm like, okay. And they said overnight he started to suffocate, and they didn't have any other option. They had to put him in a drug-induced coma. And I said, well, I know what a coma is, but what is a drug-induced coma? And she goes, we have him on a bunch of different medicines to sedate him and kind of make him where he can't move, because they had tied down his arms and legs because he was struggling to breathe so bad. And so the last thing I said to him wasn't, you know, I love you, everything's going to be perfect sort of thing. It was just messy, and he was uncomfortable, and I was sad, and I walk in and you see this person with tubes down their throat, and all these things in their arms and monitors. And so you start to reflect thinking, you know, why didn't I say I love you? Why didn't I, you know, make it kinder? Why didn't I try to be gentler, you know? And the nurses, they would sneak me in to the little hallway between the cardiac area and the ICU and show me x-rays of his lungs. Because the doctors, I don't think they wanted to just show me everything all at once, because they thought it was negative from the beginning. And I remember it was Christmas time, and I thought to myself, it was the most magical time of the year for me. It has been since I've been a child. So I'm like, you know what? Christmas is going to begin when he gets well. I am going to go out and take care of everything, decorate the house. I couldn't bring flowers to the nurses, so I brought them cookies. And then I went to Michael's and I got them little angels, and I sat up at night painting because I couldn't sleep. And I decorated the house, and I met halfway my ex-husband, and we picked up my boys, and I spent time with them, and then a friend would watch them, and I would go visit him in the hospital. And so about a week into this whole mess, there's 5 doctors. There was 1 female, 1 doctor he still continues to see. They had a cardiologist. They had just so many doctors. And they pull me in this small room, and you know, they're explaining all this stuff, and I keep having to ask for layman's terms, you know, like, I don't understand. Down it down for me, guys. And they said, you need to make arrangements. You need to get a hold of his family. We think it's time that you say goodbye. And most people would think, well, they're the doctors. They know what's best. I mean, they've done this for years. I got mad. I got really mad. I still shake about it. When I think about it, I get so mad. And I looked at him and I said, you're not going to take care of his daughter. You're not going to take care of me. You're not going to raise his sons without him. And I said, the insurance is paying. I said, you will treat him or I will own this hospital. And I said, don't you dare tell me. I said, you're a good man, but you are not God. And I remember the female nurse grabbed my hand and she was holding me. And I went outside. I was just, because I didn't want to cry in front of them. And I remember there was this really sweet nurse that walked up to me, and I hadn't seen her before. And I said, she said, hi, Shannon. I'm all, hi. She goes and said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go down to the 3rd floor, and I want you to go to patient advocate office.
This is good advice for anyone in the hospital.
Right.
And I said, okay. And she goes, I'm a charge nurse here. Please don't give them my name. Don't tell them I told you. I don't want to lose my job. And I said, okay. And she goes, please do it. I said, I will. So I will come back to that. I'm going to leave that where that's at right now. Went to the office, told them what happened. Within an hour, I had different doctors calling me on his team saying they were trying this treatment and that treatment. The nurses would sneak me in when I wasn't supposed to come in, and they would let me put pictures of all his family up on the wall. I sat by his bed and wrote out the Christmas cards to all of our family. I would fall asleep and they would cover me up, and they were so protective of me. And they would stay after and rub his hands and his feet. They would always put the TV on for him. They would wash him every day. And I asked him, I said, if you could just do one thing to make sure that he's shaved every day. I said, he doesn't like the hair. And they did it every day without a thing. It was amazing. So his daughter came and saw him from Arizona, and his brother came from Santa Maria and saw him. And I remember the one night I'm standing there, and there's a nurse standing right next to me, and I said, I love you, honey. It's late. I have to get rest. The nurses are making me get sleep. I said, I have to. And I saw his nose
You probably
flare
can't-
up a little.
I can't see it from here, but
Oh, yeah.
see, I'm.
Yeah.
So I used to tell her that means I love you in gorilla talk. So when we're in a quiet place, I could always do that to just tell her. So you have all the pieces.
So the nurse, I look at the nurse, and she's smiling, and I said, did you see that? Did you see that? And she's looking, and she goes, watch his nose. I'm not crazy. And I mean, this man was on Ativan and Deprivan. I mean, he couldn't move. And she saw it too. And I started to cry, and I told her what that meant. And she goes, I've told you from the night I met you, he's there. He is there. So I went home. I was exhausted. 3 weeks into this, they're talking about doing a tracheotomy. And I had to give them a decision within a day or so because he kept getting the pneumonia over again because of the hospital's, the infections. So I remember looking at this beautiful house that we had just bought, and looking at all the decorations, seeing everything, and I have this little white, beautiful dog. She's a little Bichon, that's my baby, and she's just staring at me, and I'm talking to myself, and she's like looking at me like I'm lost my mind. And I looked over and I said, God, why is this happening? I said, I left an abusive relationship. I was supposed to. I said, the boys would have been hurt otherwise. I said, I met my true love. I said, why would you give me just an ounce of it and take it away? And then I started screaming, and I started throwing pillows, and I started yelling, and I'm like, I'm sorry if I disappointed you. I tried to do everything right. And I remember falling asleep. Somehow, I laid on the floor for a while, and then I went to bed. And I thought I was dreaming, and the phone was ringing, but I thought it was a dream. And on the other end was a nurse's voice, and she said, Shannon, you've got to get to the hospital now. He's awake, he's awake, he's awake. I'm thinking I'm dreaming this, and then I've just gone crazy, and I can't accept that my husband's not going to make it. And finally, she got really certain. She goes, Shannon, wake up. And I'm like, I'm awake. And they're like, he's awake. You need to come down. I don't know what clothes I grabbed. I just grabbed what was on the floor, drove to the hospital.
I'm sure you look great.
I didn't wait for the elevators. I ran up the stairs, and as I'm coming through the door, he's coming through a side door, and there's a nurse pushing him, and they've just taken the tube out. And he's grabbing his throat. But he's kind of looking at me like he recognizes me. And I said, honey, I'm here. And he said, let me get him in, and you can see him. Just give me a minute. And that's the blessing. He woke up. There's more blessings, believe me. But when I finally went in, and they had a psychologist there and a psychiatrist.
I'll get it from here.
Yeah.
So once I was awake, when you're in a coma and you wake up, you don't realize that you've been in a coma. You don't realize anything. It's just all brand new. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, but she was there all the time. And the psychiatrist would come in about 3 or 4 times a day and like, who are you? And I'd be like, Mary? And they're like, no, your name's Bill. Where do you live? And I'd be like, Florida? And they're like, no, we live in Ventura. And he'd do it 2 or 3 times a day. And every day it's different, like, Tim? No. Where do you live? Portland? And they're like, listen, this is who you are. So they do it every day. And finally one day he came in, he was just in a bad mood, I guess. And he's like, so who are you? And I'm like, John. He's like, do you know anything at all? And I said, I know her because I married her, but I don't know her name. Killed me. So he said, that's your wife, that's Shannon, and she's the only person in my life that I remember. I woke up with no life memory, which I still don't have. I have about a week's worth now, about a week's worth of real memory. So each morning, Shannon and I sit down for breakfast, and she goes over what we have to do that day, who we're going to see, basically what life is going to be that day. So every day I get to fall in love again, which is a miracle, which is a blessing, because, you know, I think, you know, I look around, I have a brother who's kind of crazy. Well, apparently I was before I got sick. He still is. And, you know, like I look at him sometimes and he's so ungrounded that I you know, you just want to reach out and say, you know, something needs to touch you, but it all happens in its own time and it all happens in its own way. For me, I used to run AT&T's customer service for years, and then I did programming for MySpace and really technical work. But after the coma, I'm like a chimp. I can't do anything on the computer. I can't do anything like that at all. No technical work anymore, and I couldn't go back to work. I'd get in the car to go, and I'd get a block from the house, and I'd call her and say, hey, where am I going? She's like, you're going to work. I'm like, where do I work? And she'd be like, you work at MySpace. I'm like, well, what do I do? And she's like, park the car. I'll come and get you. So once we realized that life was never going to be the same, it was very, very difficult for me. We lost our homes. We lost our car. We lost the way to earn a living. It was very difficult. You know, as a man, I've always taken care of my family, and now I'm in a position where I can't. I just can't. I didn't know what I was going to do. In Ventura, there's a bed and breakfast. It's called the Victorian Rose, and they were friends of ours. And one of the owners stopped by that very day when I'm just bawling like a little baby and said, do you want the scroll saw? I'm like, yeah. And Shannon's like, don't give him anything he can hurt himself with because he has no aptitude. Dang, that kind of hurts a little bit. She's like, well, you know, I just don't want you to get hurt. I'm like, okay. She goes, what are you going to do with it? I said, I have no idea. So every night, our deal was, because I couldn't go back to work, she said, you make sure the boys are asleep before you go to bed. Because that way I can go to sleep, because they were young. How old? They were 5. So every night I would tuck him in. It was like my big job, my one thing I could do. And I went in one night, and there was an angel holding my son. So I woke her up, I said, hey, quick, there's an angel in the boys' room. She's like, honey, the doctor said you're going to hallucinate. I'm telling you, I saw it, come and look. And we go in, of course it isn't. So in the morning, she gets up for breakfast, and I said, guess what? She said, what? I said, I'm going to make angels. And one of the things I remember as clear as day, she took my hand, she said, you know, honey, you forgot a lot about your life, but you don't have any talent. I'm like, what are you talking about? How could that possibly be? I said, you know, I have that scroll saw. And she's like, and? She goes, don't turn it on unless I'm in the house. I'm like, hey, man, let's not get all crazy now. So I started cutting out pieces of wood, and it turned into an angel. It's about this tall. It took weeks and weeks and weeks, and Shannon still shares the story that she'd come home from work, and I'd be like gluing, I was putting it together in the living room, and I'd glue into the floor, and there's hot glue on the couch, and she went in to make a sandwich one day, and she's like, where's all the butter knives? I don't even know what they are. And she comes out, and I'm scraping glue with it, and she's like, it's that. And I'm like, oh, I thought they were glue scrapers. So life's pretty much in the moment for me. And I started creating these angels. And they're in the Vatican, they're in the White House.
Wow.
Joel Osteen has 2, Halle Berry, Joe Biden. It just goes on and on. Just Bryan Cranston just got one. So this is what they look like. If you want to hand those out. These are made of individual, they're not frail. These are made of individual pieces of wood.
Yeah, you'll see that in the back.
The cuts
Turn
that
them
you
over.
see
Yeah.
are cuts from the saw, and they're glued back and then sanded
I know, that makes
to
sense.
create them.
So I think I make over 120 different types now. 135?
135.
So each day I go up to my little workroom, I ask God for a new angel, and each day God gives me a new angel.
Wow.
And then Shannon paints the angels. And the miracle is this. The miracle is this. Love is way more powerful than we believe, because had Shannon just said, listen, you're the doctors, you know. But she said, you know, I expect a miracle. He's going to get up. And they're like, he's never getting up. She said, you're wrong. Period. You're just wrong. He's getting up. And 3 days later, I woke up. So it's a story of love, and it's a story of following the things that you know are right in your heart. As you and I were just talking about, and Sharon, when you stop, it's us that stops our greatness. When we're afraid to move forward because we don't think we're worthy and we don't think we're good enough to do it, and we think someone's always better. Of course, there's always going to be people that are better, but that doesn't stop your grace and your gift from moving forward. We stop it, we as individuals. I live in about a 15-minute time zone. Like, everything's very childlike for me. I'll just do a quick story. Shannon, before we realized how bad I was, she said, okay, the doctor said to write down 3 things for you to do every day. So this is what I want you to do. Here's money, and here's the electric bill. So 1 block, you can walk there, pay the electric, unload the dishwasher, and get the towels out of the washing machine. Great. So she walks out the door, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm reading the thing, I'm like, okay, all right. So I just put it down, put the money down, I went out, I'm making angels, just having the best day ever. And about 4:30, everything shuts off, and I'm like, oh, must be quitting time. So I go in the house, and the TV won't come on. I'm like, oh man. So I'm just sad. The lights, nothing's working. I'm like, well, I'll just wait for Shannon to get home. I'm sure it's something simple. So she comes in about 7:30, and she's like, it's dark in here. I'm like, it's really dark in here. It's been dark in here for hours. She goes, did you pay the electric? I'm like, you can't buy electric. It's in the walls. It's the switch. She's like, no, you have to buy it. I'm like, Shannon, you can't buy it. Because I think she's playing with me. Like, how would I get it home? She's like, do you understand that you have to pay to use that? I'm like, I don't understand that. So she's just so angry. So she goes, I'm just going to go get something to eat and go to bed because it's dark in here. All right. So she goes into the kitchen, and I hear her like, oh. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I just unloaded the dishwasher, but I put everything on the floor because I don't know what I'm doing. Like it is very childlike for me. Even now, it's kind of like, if it's not like, you need to pick this up and put it here, I'm just not very good at it. So the miracle is this. When you approach every day as a child, you realize that there are no limits to what you can do. The only limit is what you stop yourself from doing. The fact that we have angels in the Vatican, in Joel Osteen's church, just President Obama has one of our angels. And these are people who, the other day someone sends me a thing and says, hey, look at this. It's from my Instagram account. Miley Cyrus has one of my mermaid angels as her shrine in her home. So we just finished our 2,300th angel. So they're literally all over the world. And every day people wake up with that touch, that gift that I've been given. And Shannon always says, just to be the tiniest speck in someone else's life. Christmas is always a big day for me, Shannon. We decorate the tree, she brings out all the ornaments, and one by one she explains where we got them. So last year, we had so many people buy angels for Christmas. And it never occurred to me before. And I said, you know what, Shannon? Tomorrow morning, over 50 people are going to wake up and get a gift that we created. And it was just such a heartwarming thing, and I've never let go of that, feeling that we're all here to make a difference. It's not just me, it's not my miracle, it's our miracle. You know, it's a testament to what we can do when we just say, there are no limits. Because, you know, when I told Shannon I was gonna make art, she's like, you have no talent. I'm like, hey, she goes, you know, and before I turn the saw on, she says, hey, do you know how many times you've been hurt with power tools? And I said, Shannon, I don't know anything about anything, so I can do everything. And that's how we earn our living now. Like I make them, Shannon paints them. It's a remarkable existence, not because I get to do this great thing. It's a remarkable existence because I've learned to see the precious things, the preciousness in everything, in hummingbirds and butterflies. Shannon bought me a bird feeder when I was when we thought I was gonna get well, and she said, and I'm like, what is that? She's like, you're gonna see the birds are gonna come while you're working, and then you'll get to see birds. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, I don't really care about that. So she's at work, and I call her one day, I'm like, hey man, you need to get home. She's like, what's the matter? I said, these things in our yard, they're everywhere in our yard. She's like, what things? And I'm like, I don't know, they fell. I don't know where they're from. I could not process that it was a bird. I could not process it. So she races home, she's like, well,